What is Bitcoin and why should you care? You're either a pre-coiner or you're a Bitcoiner. And no matter who's listening to this right now, you are one or the other, and you will eventually become the latter. You will eventually become a Bitcoiner. You probably don't know it or realize it yet. I don't have time to even go into why that is. It is the future of money. It's the strongest asset, personal property humanity has ever created. As all free markets go, if you study the history of money, if you study the history of markets, you will see that Bitcoin is inevitable because the markets always converge on the strongest form of money. Gold has won that out for thousands of years. And now Bitcoin, which is a better version of gold, a digital gold, is now winning and will continue to win in the future. And then it will become the base currency layer, the base money for humanity. It will bring sovereignty and independence to more humans than any other thing in the history of mankind. Welcome to the Better Sovereign Show. I'm your host, Colin Stucker. We got 5-ish minutes about something that's going to help you become sovereign, free, better thinker, better human, more anti-fragile, more prepared. Let's get to it. Today we're talking about Bitcoin. So I got a few notes here. I'm going to wrap on it for a little bit, and then I'm going to let you go. You can get all the updates over at colin.coach, get the Better Human newsletter. Bitcoin is protection against a lot of things, but primarily it is your best chance at protecting yourself against inflation and government incompetence and oversight. Bitcoin is the single best thing you can do to protect your future and well-being. It's the ultimate insurance policy, the most potent tool for sovereignty, and probably the best investment you'll ever make. One of the big problems of money today is that it's controlled by someone else. You can't actually spend your money any way you want. You can't send it to whoever you want. There's a lot of regulations around it. There's KYC, know your customer. I mean, the government can basically take your money away and they can claim you're a bad person and then they can hold your funds for potentially years. And there's just so much nonsense that goes on, and that can happen to you. And that does happen to people all over the world all the time. Humans don't have control over their financial sovereignty. Bitcoin actually solves this. It's the first property ever created that allows you to do this. So that's one obvious use case, is sovereignty from governments. Uncensorable, unmesswithable money that cannot be taken from you, cannot be manipulated away, printed away, or whatever. Around the time that these words were written, and this is from a book, Bitcoin Independence Reimagined, highly recommend it. Around the time these words were written, a protest fund worth around $70 million intended for the protesters of Hong Kong was frozen over money laundering, which is quote unquote what they said, by HSBC, super corrupt bank, acting under pressure from the Chinese government. Now the phrase, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, is true. There's a lot of nuance to that, but let me just go with what he says here. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin is, despite what anyone might believe or wish, just as true for the traditional banking system as it is for Bitcoin. That means that if you have your Bitcoin on Coinbase or something else and you don't have your actual private keys held yourself, then that institution or a government could act upon the institution to lock up your Bitcoin or to freeze it or whatever. Credit card companies, banks, and even internet providers have immensely powerful tools for shutting people up at their disposal. Most of them are, fortunately, very reluctant to use these tools most of the time, but only because of the damage to their reputation a misdirected freezing of someone's funds could lead to. When not asked, but ordered by a powerful entity or a powerful enough authority to do so, most of them won't blink before ruining someone's life because of an alleged connection to terrorism or some other nonsense. People in power very seldom give up that power willingly. While this observation seems obvious, it is less obvious what power truly is and where it truly resides. Voters seem to miss the target all the time and keep on voting for parties who suggest that giving politicians more power is a good idea. Regardless of where on the left-right spectrum the parties of most democracies today land, they all want themselves to have more power than other people. I did a whole show on this. This is so important. What it's become in our American democracy and pretty much any other democracy, you get a two-party system where it's left versus right, or it's this side versus that side. What they end up fighting over, what then the voters pay attention to, because that's what they're focused on talking about, is my side's better than your side, right? That's what every side does. I'll do better things, they'll do worse things, I'm better qualified, they're not, etc. And almost all of the pretense for this is, I should have more power. My side should win. We should do more things. We should have more control because we'll do them better than the last guy or the last party or them over there. It is non-existent where they're discussing whether government should have more power or not, and whether either of the parties should have less power. That's not even up for debate or discussion. It's actually just more. And this is what, unfortunately, governments do. Even the best form of government that's ever been created, which is America, based on constitutional rights and personal property rights and things like that, even our country leads to this slow erosion of rights with one little law or regulation or interpretation by a judge at a time. So that over time, you have something that doesn't even look like what it was supposed to at the beginning. And all governments will lead to this kind of Frankenstein-like apparatus where it keeps growing until it has to be put down or until it blows itself up. America in 2020 is a perfect example of this. I'm always curious what people will say in 2050. Maybe China has become the dominant superpower and everyone talks about the good old days of the 2010s or the early 2000s when America was on top and the big tech boom and whatever. And then through identity politics and big tech censorship and consolidated power structures and printing fiat dollars, slowly government lost its footing and then slid into becoming just another mostly global superpower, but not the big dog anymore. Maybe they'll be saying that in 2030. Maybe 2035 is when that will happen. Maybe we'll go into some kind of technological Cold War where it's who can make the most drones and other crap like that. Or actually, I believe it's going to be AI. Who's going to create the first superpower AI that hopefully won't end civilization. Now, as you can see, that I could talk about this topic forever. And one idea of Bitcoin and financial sovereignty could lead to 1,000 rabbit holes that I could each unpack for 10 to 20 minutes at a time. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I like doing that. But we always every video or podcast have to have one core idea. And that one core idea is very simple. You buy Bitcoin because it's the most asymmetric opportunity of our lifetime that you're ever going to see, especially in 2020, 2021 right now. And it's the only thing currently that you can do that the government can't take away from you or control or print away or shut down or whatever. Even if you were public enemy number one, the government couldn't mess with this. And I can't go into the technical reasons for this, but it basically is a result of decentralization and nodes and miners all over the world. And then China kicked out all its miners recently, which is actually very big news. And the Bitcoin network did just fine. And it's going to be one of the biggest political blunders that China's ever probably done. And it's really, really good that they did that because it actually strengthens the network for Americans and other countries. And it removes a lot of power away from that communist country. So I'm very happy that happened. But geopolitically, for them, very big mistake, big blunder. Bitcoin, you buy it, you hold it, you move it off an exchange, you get like a hardware wallet or have some system, you memorize your keys, and you have control over at least a part of your financial sovereignty, and you have potentially the greatest insurance you've ever purchased, and you are likely going to have the best investment you've ever made. So buy some, don't sell it, don't pay attention to the price. Just buy consistently, dollar cost average in. You can use Swan Bitcoin. That's how I do it. colin.coach/Swan to do that. And then in 10 years, maybe you'll think about this video, remember me, and you'll want to say thanks. Send me a few Satoshis as a tip or something, or just say thank you. I did this. You saved my family's life. And you know, the dollar is crashing. Maybe in 10 years, you're talking about how the dollar is crashing and then your Bitcoin holdings are exponentially growing. So you actually are ending up better off. And I hope this doesn't happen because a lot of people are going to get hurt. But if we do have this, those that hold Bitcoin will benefit tremendously. And at the very least, you'll be protected. So that's it for today. Get on the Better Human newsletter. This is the Better Sovereign Show. I'll see you in the next one.